Greetings, everyone. I'm Loot Bryon Smith, and welcome to Enlightened Empowered Evolved. Hope everybody's doing well. Oops, let me take that back. I know everybody's doing well. I have faith. I believe that everybody's doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited today. Got a very special guest yet again. Very enlightened gentleman, Mr. Eugene Uriel. And let me just tell you a little bit about it. Eugene is an American-born human whose experiences through life and purpose of spirit emblazon a passion for the enlightening of humanity. Eugene is a divergent being with the vision to see multiple ontologies and serenity to harmonize different realities. Wow, we're going to have to get into that because you already lost me. An author who has spent decades working with individuals, families, and communities to inspire kind, loving, and gentle methods in all hearts to release suffering. His mission is to give any person a simple, practical method for transcending any situation or circumstance, whether it be spiritual or material, as more love, peace, and joy benefits more than just the client or student. It benefits every being on this planet. Self-discipline is our responsibility, is what he says. How are you today, Mr. Eugene Uriel?
Well, thank you very much, Loot. I want to thank you. I also want to thank World King, and I want to thank all of the beings responsible for putting us together, whether they are visible or not visible. And in saying that, most people don't believe in the invisible. And I will point out from a yogic perspective that the visible means there's a body, there's a human being, it has a body. But how many humans will see the being that allows the body to operate? And what does that mean? If there's no spirit, there is no body that can operate because it requires that invisible substance, which is the fifth element. Very famous movie, Fifth Element.
Yes, I like that movie with Bruce Willis.
Yes, yes. And so to give it some context, the only way that if we're going to demystify in a simple language that the average layperson can understand, what does it mean, even the definition mystic? It sounds mystical. Everyone loves mystical experiences. They're constantly chasing it through drugs and through alcohol, and so that they don't have to feel what's going on. That's usually why most people do those things, right? And so when we step out of that and come in contact with, again, to demystify the mystic means to see it in the right context, right? So context and content. You have a container. The container, let's take a look at the bottle of water. That's the container. The body is a container. The body is 80% water. When you pour the water out, where does it go? Well, if it goes to the earth, it evaporates and no one sees it returning to the sky. Yet when it rains, everyone sees the drops coming down.
Right.
Okay. So if a person doesn't understand that by the virtue of the fact of what is inside of each and every one of us, in other words, our feeling, if what's inside of us, when it leaves us, it has to return to us like a boomerang, right? Because thoughts become things.
Right.
And those thoughts led up to our meeting even.
Right.
Because we seek, this is one of the reasons why I reached out to your program, is very few people would be bold enough to write the word enlightened, empower, evolve.
Yes. And you elaborated and told me that, and I'm glad you did reach out. And like you said, everything that happened from that segment that you watched to it going to me meeting with Fadi of World King and being on there, and for you watching that and then reaching up to me, no coincidence. And we had a talk prior to this segment that just so many similarities and connections and things that I didn't know, but you reminded me of, and it felt like I already knew it, as you explained it. And it was so amazing. But yes,
And
continue,
yes,
sir.
and often that's what happens because like you said, the segment that we had the other day, we had a chance to kind of meet privately, and what an auspicious time that was.
Right.
And I'm still just kind of getting up to speed with a little more of your background as well. And what a precious being, what a precious being to be able to put together with even in the music arena, the sounds and syllables of words along with pictures, YouTube, and I mean, I just can't even imagine that you're not globally famous already in that sphere, because when you use the words in the way that you use them and put those pictures together in the way that they are put together, okay, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do when there is no intention, when there's no intention to ascribe to be self-important, because often that's what you'll find is in the guru arena. That's why I like to demystify the idea of guru. Most people who study non-duality are already aware of what I'm sharing today.
Right.
When people go to a guru, they go to the guru and they surrender to that, and they may live in their ashrams forever. If you take a look at Osho, I mean, he's very world famous. Yes. He had 95 Rolls Royces, but he never paid for one of them.
Wow. I didn't even know that. I just like
he never, yeah.
Yeah, I just like reading his words and his quotes and things like that. They speak to me, but yeah, I never knew that.
And most people don't even know his history. And I've met with people in northern India and then in the Himalayas, that have lived or are living in his ashram, and they said, "Hey man, I want to come home and live with you." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't have an ashram yet, my friend." Right?
Yes. If that's your intention, then you will.
Right. But that's not my intention. Right. And I'm going to tell you why. Is because self-responsibility, that's the cornerstone of everything. Self-responsibility, don't hang on every last word that I share.
Right.
That I don't want people to do. Then you have a group of followers, and then you have all of these other possibilities that really can be the doorway to your downfall. Oh. And any guru that has fallen, he knows he's fallen. Okay. Yes. But usually the people within the community may or may not know he's fallen.
Wow.
And I've sat with some very, very famous people that are all over YouTube.
Yes.
Very famous.
Yeah, I know.
Very, 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 very famous. And I'm not special because I got to sit with them. No, I spent some money. I got on a plane and I want to see for myself, isn't it? Is it true? Is it true?
That's a good way to, that's a straightforward way to do it. Yes. And just from you talking, I can just tell that, and you set your intention to meet those people, and it worked. You end up next to them,
right next to them in private meetings with them. Right. And that's private meetings that most people, can't facilitate, and most people don't understand how that works, is because if you're in the vibe and there's no mental mind saying, okay, I'm going to set this intention, I'm going to meet them and have a private meeting. Right. No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it can.
Yes. But Yes, there's more to it. Yeah, there's more to it.
And that's one of the things that, when you shared with me that you love your morning meditation, right? And even my language, other famous people have borrowed some of my language. And I know I'm not the first person to say it, but they're the ones that are making it popular. Okay.
Right.
So years before, and I'm not going to say anything negative about anybody. I'm just going to say this. At one point in time, about 8 years ago, my computer went to a particular repair facility, and most of my research and my external hard drive came up missing, never to be recovered.
Wow.
And now I see some of the famous programs, things that I wrote 9 years ago, and I could do like an hour and a half program for you to show you the human physiology, quantum physics. I love Mr. Matthews, your guest that you had last week that was on. Oh my God.
Yes, Dan Matthews.
Yeah, Dan Matthews. And so here's the thing. When you're aware that you're that aware, how do you begin with demystifying a mystic, a saint, or a sage? Okay.
Okay.
And
that's
when
the question. I can't answer that, but I'm sure you can. Yes, that's a good question though. That is a good question though. How?
Well, the how is through honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness.
Okay.
So if I have self-honesty and I'm self-disciplined, that means I can't even lie to myself.
Right.
Now, the average human, we both know, has 70,000 on average per day per person thoughts per day, but we only catch the ones that we filter out and want to entertain ourselves with.
Right.
Which is going to lead us up to, when you shared with me, that you enjoyed doing your yoga or meditation in the morning, yes. your particular thing. And for some of us, that's when you become aware. And here's the mystical terms. I'm aware of awareness, and there's an observer who is observing.
Right.
But higher than that, there is an observer of an observer that keeps going up. It keeps going up. So if you look into Buddhism, you'll find there are certain statues that have a head on top of a head on top of a head on top of a head, and it goes all the way to infinity.
Right.
But they're just leaving the idea of about 20 tiny heads on top of the first original head that created the vibration.
Wow, I never knew the symbolism of that.
Yes, and so if we get rid of words and go into the symbolism, then the symbols actually have more power than words.
Okay. Wow.
Because in truth, the power starts with, why did I choose to come to this planet?
Yes. Now, that right there is, I'm glad you're heading down that path, because it wasn't until recently that I won't say, well, fairly new, that the whole idea of I chose everything beforehand. Now I'm glad you're breaking it down for me somewhat to give me some more insight on my choices that I did in putting my whole life together. And
yes. In a greater context, if a person's not ready to hear this, for example, maybe one of the first things we should say early on in the show is caveat emptor. This is not for the weak or the timid. So if you're a sheep, you should go. Okay.
Right.
I won't be shy about that fact.
Right.
Okay. Because at age 27-ish, 26-ish, I heard some things from someone that I was not prepared to hear at that time. And I still have had a struggle with it, even on up into these days, with what we're discussing in the context, right? Because here's context of interpretation and perception. What do you mean I chose to come here? So if any human being has had a challenging young life, right? If someone said to you, you chose your parents, I wasn't ready to hear that. And very few humans are if they didn't have a lofty transcendental family to be born into.
Right.
Or
So
if there was a or if there
yes.
was a mistake in the Peruvial celestial byways and highways from, the stork method,
Yeah.
the stork that drops off
Yeah.
the
Let's
baby.
drop down the chimney. I think that,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that makes a little bit
Thank you,
more
Saint Nick.
sense. I think I can,
Right?
connect and attach to that theory pretty easy. Because I
Yeah.
seen it, I saw it so much as a kid on cartoons. So
Yeah.
I didn't
And I
see
kind
this
of write
part that you're
about those
talking
things.
about on any cartoons about me choosing my mom as a spiritual,
Yeah.
as a spirit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
get a little bit deeper on how that came about, and like you said, why.
So actually what happened was at age 27, many humans go through this similar process. Not everyone will, not everyone does, not everyone will actually try to reach out and discover why are these things happening,
Right.
right? That we're talking about right there. Why are you going after this all of a sudden strange search for, if your heart is pure, and a pure heart is important here. Okay, it has nothing to do with mind. Mind is great for practical. It's great for paying the rent or trying to learn something, and that's great. But when we're talking about make a prayer for complete and total recall.
Right. Heart
Okay.
centered too. Heart centered.
Well, if it's not heart centered, you're not going to get the answer.
Right.
That much I'm going to. I can pretty much confirm that. On the other hand, I've seen only rare cases. They're very rare. And it's the rarest thing on the planet. Rarer still that a person will even continue to persevere and go beyond the next level of transcending that
Right.
level of consciousness.
Right.
It's very rare because there are tipping points and stopping points along the way where you're going to be tested in many various different ways. And we see that with the Buddha, we see that with Christ, we see that with so many other saintly beings who have had to deal with things that are not of this world. Right. A lot of times it's oftenly referred to as the astral domain. And it can be lofty, don't get me wrong, but it also has been jamming up the population's consciousness growth since it began, quite frankly. Now, we won't get into all that today, but I do want to get into this prayer about how important it is if you decide to ever make this prayer, or anyone listening to this segment, is if you decide and to ask, I want to have complete and total recall. Why am I here?
Here, yes. And why did I choose?
Well, just even who am I? Right?
Yeah, who am I?
There's the simplest one. It's all the sages' favorites, of course, right? Right. So Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj wrote one tiny sentence, and I have not seen it anyplace else in all of my research. But when I read the sentence, I experienced the sentence in the early 90s.
Okay.
And the sentence is this. It was right after that prayer. Keep that in mind. Complete and total recall. Go 8 days before your father's sperm hits your mother's egg. And who are you?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So if you experience what that is, if you experience it, then when you return back to a physical body in the state of a different awareness, which is, okay, well, what's your name? Where are you from? How'd you grow up? And all these little practical things. That's one aspect. So in 2015, that one sentence was like a benzene on a fire. If you don't know what benzene is, it's a chemical used in making gasoline. They use it in Formula One racing, actually.
Right. They use that in jet fuel too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
It's a great
Fast
Excel
burning.
fit.
Fast
Fast
burning.
burning.
Right.
So then to demystify, most people are aware there's in awareness of awareness of awareness, there's two eyes, right?
Right.
And then let's touch on that for a minute. So there's the personal I where, I'm this person, I'm my name, I'm my job, which is all a lie because they're
Yes.
only labels.
Attachment to titles, to
Yes.
labels, titles.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so if I'm not this job and I'm not this mind and I'm not this body and I'm not this name, Eugene Uriel,
Right. Who am
well,
I?
then who is really here is a divine being looking at another divine being. I think you said Fatty likes to always reference the kings and the queens of the world.
Right.
And I see all of us as divine beings, right? So, a simple mantra is, for meditation, divine life fills me strong.
Divine
Divine
life
life fills me strong.
fills me strong. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Because we
So,
come from that.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just, that's the benzene on the fire, and that's the catalyst to being a divine being. And the one thing that you can't get back in this world is time.
Right. Right.
And I've had a few, and I trust few, but my reverence for those few that have given everything that they had to offer, every ounce, every molecule, every atom of their beingness in their writing, in their dialogue, in their work. And so whether it came from the saints, from the sages, the mystics, it took me a long time to really process that word, because if we all take a look, the power of our word.
Right. I can
Right.
resonate with that because that's
Okay.
what I.
If you do me a quick favor, I'd like you to do one thing. Okay. We'll do this in a second segment too later
Okay.
on at another time. But right now, do yourself a favor, and I'd like you to make a stick man. Okay. On your little paper, you got your pen.
Make a stick man.
Yeah, and anybody else listening, they can do this too. Grab a pen and a paper and make a stick man or a stick girl, however you represent yourself for a moment, and then draw two little tiny antennas, one on the left and right side of the head. Okay, make sure to give them a smiley face so everybody's happy. Okay. Now, yes, great, perfect. Okay, so now I want you to extend this out. Take a look. Watch me for a second. Okay, because I'm going to show it this way right here. Okay, here's the stick man. This is what you should end up with. Let me know if the clarity on this is okay.
Yes, I can see it with the heart.
Okay, yes. Okay, and the reason I'm showing this to you that way is so that you have a formula and a format for processing. That the left side of the brain is very logical, and that's primarily an egoic side, is my interpretation. But the right side is the creativity. And then when you connect that to the feet, you have to understand universal law. Okay. And if we take a look at the word universe and we do a hyphen in between you and I, which means one, and then
You
you
and
take a
I,
look
yes.
okay,
Right.
and then you take a look at verse, you know that a verse is a song, and there's one verse that plays the same song for all beings on this planet. And whatever it is that you send, it must return to you, whether it is in this lifetime or the many others that you may have. If you keep coming back to this planet, of course. Very few beings know how to get out of that trap, but that's why most people that go down this path of non-duality want to die before they die. And what does that mean? The death of the ego.
Yes. Okay. The death of the ego. Yes.
So to die before you die, we're going to demystify that. And most people, like I say, who follow the path of the Advaita, the Upanishads, the Vedanta, this is a non-dual way of seeing that the whole, the good and the bad, is not separate.
Yes. Now that I
Okay.
do get.
Right. So
Yes.
there is no separation.
No.
Okay. But there is a preference that leads to light, and there is one that leads to darkness. So what we do is we take the next step in evolving and empowering all of our brothers and sisters for
Right.
those who have a taste
Right.
for this type of language, this type of dialogue. And I'm just working on a new project right now called wealth creation.
Yes. Yes.
Wealth creation.
That's what we were talking about prior to this. and when I expressed to you that what you already know, I'm open to learn, to it's not going to shock me, anything that you say. It's only going to make me more curious, and and remind me of something that I probably already know deep down, or something that I'm connected to already. So yes, for those that there are people out there, and we know that aren't there yet. So when you go past what they've read, what they've heard, or what they're already been familiar with, it. They allow their, like you said, ego to stop them, like to put up a red flag, like this is nonsense, or this is a cult, this is evil, what he's saying, because people do demonize things that they don't understand, so
It was really interesting. I have a friend of mine, as you're making some highlights there, and it's amazing. He told me that he's got a certain amount of money in the bank, and it's sitting there, and it's it's not moving up, it's not moving down. I said, oh, okay, that's great. I said, but would you like to see it grow? Well, of course, and he knows some of the things that I'm doing, and he's like, I don't even want to hear what the progress is now.
doesn't care. Okay.
Well, and it's not that he doesn't want to know, but see, it's so far away from what he has been ingrained in and taught.
Right.
You have to go to work,
Programmed.
you have to work hard. Yes. And once you step out of that program, when you know people for 15, 20 years and you step out of the program. So if we were to go sit with Morpheus and Neo right now, right? If you want the red pill, well, come on, let's get together and let's have a good time. If you want the blue pill, you can go home right now and you'll just return the same as you came, and you won't even remember me by tomorrow.
I don't even remember you were there. Right.
Ta-ta.
Yeah,
right.
we talked about that too. A lot of symbolism in movies.
Yeah. Yes. So whether it was Inception, whether it was The Matrix, whether it was The Fifth Element, whether it was I Origins.
Right.
Okay. If you haven't seen I Origins, it's a very, very powerful thing. And when you take a look at when that movie came out, and I'll just set a little preface for it. So there actually have been recording eye retina scans in India when babies are born now, okay, to track when they're, reincarnation. Now this isn't a joke, okay? They made a movie about this simple fact, how this gentleman from someplace in Idaho, right, had left the body and then was born in India as a tiny little girl, because the eye retina scan matches identical. And when the person has certain habits, they're still connected to the same tendencies and compulsions.
Wow, that's deep.
So, that's just a short one, but this really is, who's the author of this movie? We all say I.
Yes. Okay.
We all say I. Here's another demystification, right? See, egos love to hear the I am presence, or to pick up that spiritual catalog and put it in the bookshelf and study that and say, well, I'm God too, right? And you can tell the people who grasp it from that context, right? That's a context. Well, we're all God. Yes, I mean, that's a certain truth. That's a certain truth at a certain level.
Yeah, right. Agree.
Okay. So one of the famous sayings from saints and sages, I am, we all say I am in every language.
Right.
Because the beings, as the babies are born at a certain point between 0 and 5, 0 and 7, there's no self-identification. It's all just about imagination and being happy and eating and going to the bathroom and so on, right?
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. But then there's a point where it says, I am somebody too.
Right.
Can't you see me?
Right.
And that's usually when something's going on in any family unit, which, and again, it doesn't matter the language, the first two words, I am.
Right.
So if we demystify this a little bit at a more mature level, I am, I'll give it to you from the spiritual context, because I don't like it when people get so easily fooled, right? I don't like it when people do, sophistication or come off as being something special, because I'm not special, my friend. We are all special. Okay. So that comes from my heart wholeheartedly. And here's the thing. If I were to just go set up an ashram in India, I could pass my test quite easily.
Right.
Okay. But that's not my thing. And I've been behind the curtain. I all remember The Wizard of Oz, speaking of movies. Okay. I've been behind the curtain. And once you get behind the curtain and you see what others do to promote whatever it is they're promoting, right?
Right.
And that's why I don't encourage astral projection. I don't encourage certain things until a person can achieve a certain level of consciousness,
Right.
which is in a much safer zone, so they don't lose their soul.
Okay.
Okay, so when we say this, I'm going to do it like I said in the first part. I am before, I am during, and I am after.
Wow.
Which is true. Which is truth.
During, before, and I am after. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you repeat that in your meditation, and for someone like yourself, because you're already deeply involved in your meditation and you have an inner relationship with the being that is inside of your form.
Right.
Okay. That being that's inside the form is your infinite I.
Okay.
The self-identity of an egoic self with the tiny I is the one that says, hey, why are you hurting my feelings? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you always complaining?
Right.
Always the downtrodden, always seeing the negative Nancy, and doesn't have anything beautiful to say and lay down on anybody.
Right. Looking to blame, looking to.
Yeah, no responsibility.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they don't know, because even then you have to remember, I wasn't always like this. I remember being one of those people.
Right.
I remember being one of those people. And I said, I want to be one of the happy people, and how to get there. And then I don't want the happiness to end, and how to figure that out. Well, it's eventually going to lead you to this road.
Right.
And when you get to the road, it looks wide and vast as space in the beginning.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. No, I can relate to that.
And then it becomes a little narrower.
Narrower and narrower. Yeah.
And a little narrower. And
yes.
till there's one pointedness.
Right.
And when you disappear, what does that mean? So we talked about the I am, right? I am before, I am during, and I am after.
Right.
So,
and that's it.
And that's it. But now, if we take a look, right? If it's not heard in the right context and you're not aware that the being that's speaking isn't the person who is speaking.
Right.
Okay, that's where the gurus who are in that state, because it's a state of being.
Yes, just being. Yep.
It's a state of
Exactly.
being. It's a state of being where there is no mind.
Right. Just being. I am. Not
Just being.
right.
And the same with the Tao. Whether it's the Tao, whether it is non-duality, whether it is the I am presence, one thing is for certain. You might want to take a footnote on this one, and anyone listening as well.
Okay.
There's one way to confirm some of these things that we're discussing, and it's called kinesiology. Kinesiology can show any being, as long as they're above 200 in their consciousness. And it's better yet, I mean, a method that I love to use is I like to reach out to outsiders when I need any assistance in this matter. That way I'm clearly aware that I don't have any selfish motives in my questions, right?
Right.
You know, selfless questions are different than selfish questions.
Yeah. Selfless.
So
it's different. Yeah.
So selfless is really neutral, and that's just a fabulous way to go. And sometimes I need that external confirmation because, like I sent a message to you earlier today, I have these little time slips.
Right.
Last week I showed up to an appointment. I was 8 days early. Today I was 4 days early on this appointment. You know, right. I mean, because
he told me your time machine was malfunctioning, yes, or something.
yes, my time machine. So to get a context on this time machine that we're talking about, even this is perfect timing.
Right.
So in 2016, I met with a yogi that had been in the Himalayas for over 20 years, and he was into transcendental meditation. And Mahayash Yogi, who was the Beatles guru, who started the ashram out in Davenport, Iowa, and there's an entire university dedicated to transcendental meditation, as well as it's a legitimate university. You can go there for education.
Right.
So one of the things that came up is we're having a walk, and he's been in the Himalayas for 20 years. He really is not much on being outside in public too much because he's in a different vibe. Right. And so we're having this fantastic afternoon. We had a nice lunch, and we're walking around the park in West Chicago. He'd returned from India for the first time in 20 years. And he says, Eugene, he says, you know, at the end of all of this, it's amazing. He says, I've done what my guru has told me to do, and that was go to Himalayas. I would do more there than would be possible in any other way of life. So I've listened to my guru. I said, oh, very good. He said, but what really puzzles me is I have not had any of the experiences that you're sharing with me.
Wow.
And I said, well, I said, I don't know what to say to you, my friend. But I certainly don't wish upon anyone else, because if you're not ready, and even as prepared as you could ever be, if you were, you know, had two saints and two sages and one on each side, and angels above and below and guiding you the whole way through, there's nothing that is going to replace you, the old self, with the divine being that you are. And no one can help you get through that except this one thing, and that is all fear is false.
Right.
So for the spiritual aspirant, that's the key. All fear is false. That's the most powerful thing, I believe, in my life. And even then, you still may need some help, because it'll take you a while to come back and find a way to put together words, to have conversations and interact with the public, because I've had a property in a very remote location, and I have gone there and stayed there, and I have gone to mountains by myself to fast and to give of myself
Right.
in ways, but it's not something I normally talk about. So this will be the first time in public ever being sharing that type of information. And one or two personal friends that are left, if you continue to go down the path, it might cost you everything. It might cost you your job. It might cost you your family. There's no way of knowing what the price is. Only the one that's willing to pay the price will be the one to find out, as the Buddha said. And I would also encourage others to don't listen to me, find out for yourself, just like the Buddha said.
Right. Yes.
Because
And
I did that.
oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, I did that. I did that consciously for over 3 years.
Right.
Where every walk and every step I made, no matter who came at me abrasively, no matter who wanted to try and attack me physically or verbally or in character or in the back room, and they thought I didn't know what was going on, because when you plug into the universe, you're aware of what everybody's doing.
Wow.
It's not made up stuff in your head. You're already aware of what they're about.
Yes.
Right? That's
absolutely.
a certain level of consciousness.
Right.
And there's no escaping intentionally trying to harm others.
Right.
There's no escaping from intentionally trying to you can't buy your way to heaven, but you can get there in 2 seconds if you know how.
Right. Right. Or intentionally trying to, like you say, harm or mislead.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
egoic intentions and whatnot. Yes, we already know, as you follow that path, if you did even start that way, that's going to fall off when you're really authentically following the path of what I call, what I know right now is higher self. So
yes.
right.
Yes, and that's really the thing. One of the 3 things that you'll see, that whenever any of the saints or sages that have fallen, there's 3 key elements, right? One is fame, one is money, and the third one is some sort of sexual issues.
Right.
Taking advantage of others.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's why I don't promote that as a whole. That's not my thing. I know that the common layperson usually has some sort of challenge at home with a wife or a husband or kids or something, and then what I like to do is I like to show them at the most basic level, right? And so we'll take it down a notch here. Preparing to unwind a little bit is, okay, when I face myself and what's really bothering me, instead of pointing the finger at someone else, I keep that finger pointed without self-judgment, because it's about self-love. And that's really what I'm all about, is if I love myself, then I can love the world more. I can accept everyone else as they are because I choose to, and it's a conscious effort and a choice. Sometimes
no, like you mentioned, no, not from a ego standpoint or preconceived what you think someone should be like, or expectations is the word I was looking for. None of that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is if I set myself up to fall, right, and I expect someone else to do more than they're capable of, then who's the one that set them up for the fall? Isn't it I?
Right. From your own, yes, from your own, to put it quite simply, is your own expectations, your own narrative that you created for them.
So
right?
if I love myself first, I can expect my wife to love me more. But if I love myself first, I bring love to her.
Right.
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 And if she didn't come from a place of self-love, then there's a sense of clingingness, and we see this in relationships. Just go out in public, right? The clingingness, and when a person speaks and how they operate and interact with couples, just I think the most fabulous assignment anybody could take away from this: go out to a coffee shop, go to a chai shop, and just sit there and observe for a half a day.
Right.
And through observation, you see how beings interact. And in that, say to yourself, I won't judge anything these eyes see. If you can get a half a day in, then try a full day sometime down at the local city mall.
Without any judgment.
Without any judgment.
Right. Or opinion.
Yes.
Anything. Preconceived.
With anything.
Yeah. Right. Yes, that'd be a good exercise, so to speak.
And yeah, and if you want a different exercise, which is like kind of the opposite of that, right? Now, those who like to study the I am presence, then everything these eyes see, when I see you, I see myself.
Right.
So here is a practice that I did do for a number of months anyway. I am that.
I am that.
I am that. Everything that these eyes see here, I am that. So if I see a fluffy person, I am that. If I see an undernourished person, I am that. If I see a beggar, I am that. If I see the billionaire, I am that.
We're all a reflection of one another.
Yeah.
We're all one.
Yes.
So to speak.
But see, I wanted to take it out of that context because most people love to say that. We are all one. And
right.
So for those who get that, okay, but who lives by it?
Yes, not just say it because it sounds good.
So that means in a relationship, I can't show up in a relationship no matter what kind it is, whether it's, with my male friends or with my female friends or in this interaction. There is no way, shape, or form that I can ever do unto you that I would not want to have done unto me.
Right.
And I greet you in the morning like the divine being that you are, and then how things unfold from there always determines the direction of my flow.
Right.
Right. And that's the fabulous thing is when you show people how powerful this is. There was one young man, you can see him on my success results. I said, you just need to try this one little mantra. 3 days later, he had a $40,000 contract like that. Wow. He did 8 days worth of work, was only there 6 days, and he had to hire me on the back end to clean up. Wow. Besides paying me my fees.
Wow. Amazing.
But it's not I who did anything.
Right.
I don't take the credit for the man's, what fell into his lap. It's that when we dance, this is one of my favorite things to say. And I love this because you just know what's happening is if you want to dance with the divine, it'll burn your mind blind. And if you like rhythms and rhymes and times like these, we'll put the words together and it'll be like a poet's freeze. Wow. And most of these things will come from the past to come into the present because there's nothing we can do now that looks like a present.
Right.
Don't wrap it up with a bow and a tie and pretty paper. And when you open it up, you realize it was just a black coal.
Right.
Burning embers from the old, coming into the now. That's the famous word everybody says now, but by the time you use the word now, it's already past and there's no time. So if there is no time and Walgreens don't have it, and CVS don't have it, and the Myers and the Walmarts and all the other, Piggly Wigglies and Kroger's don't offer any more time slips. So in your time machine, how do you want to author your life.
Wow. That's
And I got a powerful invitation to you because I made some notes before we met today.
right.
You know, when I travel out west, because I'm going to be doing my world tour again towards the end of this year, and then we're going to be heading back out across the globe again. So as time and permits, what we're going to do is get out west, and we'll have maybe some other meetings and see about maybe putting together a venue for people who might be interested, right?
Right.
To expand, because what happens when we have these meetings, we all flourish.
Exactly.
We all flourish, not just from the inside, but from the outside and every other possibility.
Yes.
There's some very, very beautiful beings.
Well, it starts on that inside, and then from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So exactly.
And it's not any of the words. It's not any one word, because people understand. Let's take a look at it this way. So demystifying the mystic and the saint and the sage is so simple when we are aware that the Satguru is what it's called, right? The Satguru is in each and every one of us, but most people keep looking through these things called eyes, looking for an external form to attach to.
Right.
Right. And then that's just another attachment, you see.
Yes.
And I prefer non-attachment, non-dual, non-attachment in such a way that there's no strings attached. What I give freely. What I do freely. And, that way you don't have to have a group of followers. That's not necessary to be successful in life. A well-balanced life is going to be, the mind, body, spirit in a certain amount of time increments. But I don't really pay attention to time, even though I have a watch, unless I have appointments that day. So
yes, that is absolutely awesome way to be, is not being attached to time.
Yeah.
And that's why I can tell just from when you text me earlier, you weren't attached to time. The only reason why is because I scheduled a time for us to do this. Otherwise, you had no reason to be attached to any time.
Well, and here's the thing: if your brain functions, if we took a look at this like on an EEG machine, then you'll find out that the average human mind flows with a certain amount of frequencies and vibrations, and they're really scattered. And then if you continue to break it down to like a meditation practitioner, then that falls within a certain domain of hertz. I think the average human is around 9 to 13 hertz, in that range. A meditator is somewhere around 8 to 5 range, but serious meditators, there's basically very little brain activity.
Right. And that's where the goal
It's called yeah, it's called the mindless state.
Right.
And so time slips take place. And the other thing is too, I have a lot of diverse community, and so I know beings all over the planet. And sometimes I get mixed up in when I'm looking at California time versus Central time, or whether I'm looking at Australian time or India's time. Not to mention, just as a side note, Eastern European time, I believe, just advanced by 1 hour this week. So
Yes, absolutely. I just spoke with someone.
yeah,
Got there. I was supposed to have an interview this a couple of days ago with a woman in Europe, and because of her time, she lost track of my time. So
yes,
she was an hour late to me,
yes,
asking, can we still do it? And I said, oh no, I've
yeah,
already moved on. So we'll have to reschedule.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask is, how can we find you? Is there a way? Do you have a platform? Do you have just a way for people to find you?
Yes. Yes. The website is called superchargedlife.org. Again, that's
Superchargedlife.org.
yes.
Okay.
And, hopefully we can link that down in the description somewhere.
Yes, we'll do that.
And as well, because I'm an author, there are 3 auspicious books there. One of them is called The Quest for Eternal Truth.
Wow. The Quest for Eternal Truth. Is
Yeah.
that on Amazon?
And that's also on Amazon. It's also linked on my website. Just hit the button, it'll take you right there. The other one is called Sacred Text Hidden in Plain Sight.
Sacred Text Hidden in Plain Sight.
Yes.
Wow.
And then the most auspicious one in my eyes.
Surviving God Shop.
Yes.
Wow, all of those look like amazing books, and I'm gonna have to look them up myself, and because
So,
I love reading, so I'm gonna have to acquire all 3, and then
so
we'll have to do another show on just that.
so
Yes.
once again, I have a great auspicious meeting coming up again with 35th Shaolin Grandmaster Dr. Cam Yoon.
Is that the one that was connected to David Carradine?
He actually was David Carradine's teacher.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
See, I didn't forget.
yeah.
I
And
I know.
so, um, each of us, we have some sort of a history prior to this body. And so if we can, some of us, it's our most important thing is to evolve enough that we don't resonate to the frequency of third rock from the sun.
Right. That's
In
another.
other words, another
That's
rebirth.
yes, another symbolism show as well.
Right.
Third rock from the sun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's certainly a blessing. And I'd like to thank Fanny, and I'd like World King. I thank you. I appreciate you putting us together. I thank you for the invitation. It's truly humbling. You're such a beautiful light in this world. May you light a billion more candles, my friend.
Thank you, sir. The feeling is mutual, and I thank you for uh, the enlightenment that my brain is allowing to soak in, so that I'll have some aha. I can tell that I'll have some aha moments even at a later time, but I really enjoy talking to you and people like you, or I'd say you're unique. So just this whole encounter and just being sharing thought current and listening and just wow, that's all I got to say. Just I appreciate it very much, and I know that it's going to touch this segment here a lot of people, and pique curiosity and a lot.
Yes, and I also would
Thank you.
love to send a special thanks too to Prudence. What a fabulous being, and my wife also sends her blessings to you, your show,
Thank you.
and also to Prudence. And she was very touched deeply by the both of you in the segment that you all shared. And
Yes.
so, that's really what it's all about. And, we also do private coaching and one-on-one. We also do group coaching. So, whatever it takes to help any community, because it is possible. It is possible. The same when the mayor of DC, back when they needed some help, they got a hold of the TM community and some beautiful auspicious monks to pray for their city, come to their city, and it reduced the murder rate. So there's no need for any of all that nonsense.
Right.
And all we have to do is continue to rise, and
Rise.
we'll learn about what it is to know those bohemian skies from my auspicious dear friend, whom I love, Yes. And, you know, he will be able to expand on that at a later time.
Right. I'm thankful for just that you're here, raising the vibration of the planet. Amazing. Thank you, sir.
It,
And
it's actually the only reason, you know, to put the icing on the cake, the fact that you mentioned that, that's actually 8 days before my father's sperm hit my mother's egg. That was my commitment from the upper domain, was to come here and to remind everyone.
remind,
Yes,
yes,
remind everyone, yes, Heaven Israel, you can use any other name you'd like for it. It doesn't really make any difference, but
right,
Papa loves everyone equally. And it doesn't make any difference when you get your, whatever it is you need to get for your lessons here.
right,
But when you're all done, okay, you only have to come back if you get all your lessons done. And that's my task, is to get my last lesson done.
right, right.
I work for Papa. Also,
You go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
also known as the Nameless One. That's his favorite name, actually.
Wow. Wow. Not even a symbol, just nameless one.
the the Nameless One.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You'll remember
Because
that if you hear that, the nameless
yeah,
one.
the
Right.
Nameless One.
Yes. You heard it. Everybody heard it. First here on Enlightened Empowered Evolved, Eugene Uriel. Amazing. Peace and love to everyone.
Thanks for having me. It's a real honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.